Most new trucks you can buy right now are overpriced, unreliable pieces of junk.
But there are a few that stand out as the absolute worst.
And since some of you who watch my videos apparently hate money and are still buying these overpriced trucks,
we're going to show you the 8 worst new trucks that only dumb people buy.
Starting with the first new truck on this list that you should avoid.
The Ford F-150 Lightning.
When Ford CEO Jim Farley first revealed these F-150 Lightnings, it was the most hyped up Ford truck in the last 5 to 10 years. Now, some people really love this truck, but a lot of die-hard Ford Lightning fans, you know, back when it was cool and had the V8, really hated this truck. And Ford said that this would be a game-changing pickup truck, and in some ways it was, but mostly it really wasn't. Because once these Ford Lightnings got into the hands of customers, the reality of using this like an ICE engine pickup truck just kind of hit people right in the face. Not only was the F-150 Lightning coming out in really high trim levels, and some of these are as high as like $100,000 when they first came out, but they weren't really good at towing. While you could tow a lot of weight with the F-150 Lightning, it just can't tow very far for long trips, or even trips really like once you wanted to go over 100 miles, it just became complicated to try to tow with this thing. So if you're using this just to tow around town or anything like that, it's gonna be totally fine. But there's so many videos out there on YouTube of trying to tow with the F-150 Lightning, and you just can't go very far distances. And another thing about this Lightning is that this front grille is just really not very good looking, because they transformed a truck that was an ICE vehicle, you know, V8, twin turbo V6, and just put some batteries in it essentially. So they had to do some workarounds by not redesigning something from complete scratch, and they took an F-150 truck and they just kind of made it work, if that makes any sense to you. And there's another thing with this Lightning that will cost you a crap ton of money that would never ever happen in something like this F-150 STX that has just a combustion engine. And that would be the batteries on this thing. If you want to replace the batteries on this, just a single battery module is going to run you over $4,000. And if you have to replace the entire battery pack, that's going to run you anywhere from $35,000 to $37,000. So I guarantee you most people are going to trade these in once it gets close to that warranty being out. And prices have come down because they're just not selling that well, because the reality of this truck and what the Lightning actually is, now that the customers have them, it's just not as reliable or cost effective as something like an ICE engine truck. So just a few reasons why you need to stay away from the Ford F-150 Lightning.
So the next on the list is actually going to be our Ford Maverick, which when Ford actually first came out with these, they told us it was going to be a $25,000 truck. However, if you come to any Ford dealership and you come around and you look at the total price, you're looking at $36,625. That is nowhere near a $25,000 truck. So in order to get a $25,000 truck, let's see what that looks like.
And most of the time, if you want the $25,000 truck, you actually have to order it off the website. It's been really difficult to find these on the dealership lots. This is actually the first base model that I've ever seen on any of the Ford lots that I've been to. And
so right here, we actually have what they call the base model in the Maverick. However, this is still not going to be a $25,000 truck. So coming over to the price point here, the base price of this is $23,815, right? It's under $25,000. So you're thinking you're doing good so far. Now, if you want to do any kind of truck stuff with this, hauling, towing, anything normal trucks can do, you're going to want to come over here to these options and add them. So adding a 2.5 liter hybrid engine is going to run you another $1,500. You're going to want to have at least a full-size spare tire in case you get a flat. There's 115. And then of course you can't haul anything unless you have some kind of a hitch receiver, another $100, and spray and bed liner, because who wants to tear up the bed throwing stuff back there, $495. So once that's all said and done, you still have the destination and delivery fee, which is going to be $1595. So you're looking at a total MSRP of $27,800.
And another thing about these Fords that we're showing you right now is that Ford has had a lot of quality control issues the past few years, and those just seem to be stacking up on the Ford Maverick.
One of the main issues these are having on the recalls is that the brakes are actually grabbing and sticking at lower rates of speed. So, I mean, stopping's overrated, right? So who needs brakes?
So basically the brakes are locking up while you're driving, which is not good.
And another issue they're having is the BCM is not functioning properly, which is actually keeping the tail lights from being able to ever turn on. So you're driving in the dark, you have no tail lights, and you also don't have any brake lights, which could cause an accident at night if nobody sees you or they don't understand that you're braking. One of the worst issues is actually actually right here under the hood. It is allowing fuel and oil vapors to accumulate underneath the hood, which is a huge fire hazard. And obviously, you don't want your truck to burn down. This is a big issue.
The next truck on this list of trucks that, you should avoid and not be stupid by buying it is a truck that I never thought I would say that anyone should stay away from, and that's because it's a Toyota Tundra. They are slowly becoming less and less reliable as time goes on, and one of the main reasons that the new Tundra is on my list of ones just to kind of avoid, especially right now, is that the previous generation Tundra, like this one here, had the super reliable 5.7 liter Toyota V8 engine. But as you can see, we have a massive row of new Tundras just all over the place here sitting on the lot. And this is the used section, and I've never seen this many used Tundras just sitting around. And the reason is these new Tundras have a twin turbo V6 engine, and a lot of them have issues. The engines are basically just grenading on people, and pretty much every new Tundra is recalled right now. So if you touch one of these, your engine's just gonna blow sometimes within 5,000 miles. So until they get all these replaced, including some of the ones that are brand new off the line, they're gonna have to replace those too, because those haven't even been fixed yet. But the engine is not the only reason I would stay away from this. And this is more of a personal opinion, but there are a lot of other people that agree with me on this, is that this design of the Tundra and generations before it was a very clean, nice design that wasn't too busy. But this new design, a lot of people think is kind of ugly, and they think also that the grille is too big. I tend to agree with people who think that. I think the grille is just way too massive, and the design is not as good looking as that previous generation Tundra that you see right here. Now, there is one good thing about these newer Tundras right here, is that these newer Tundras do have a way nicer, more modern interior than that previous generation Tundra. There's another one over there. And if you can see in here, just like a nice screen, good leather, the dash looks more modern and new. But if you go look at this previous gen Tundra, the interior is definitely outdated on the previous generation Tundra and looks like 10 or 15 years old. As you can see here, it's definitely more dated of an interior. But other than that, if you're looking for a Tundra, get one of these previous generations that have the super reliable 5.7 liter V8 engine, because the reliability of the new Toyotas with the hybrid turbos and those engines is really called into question now, when they really used to not be. And the last thing on the Tundra is they're just getting way more expensive than they used to be. And in my opinion, there's better trucks that you can get for that money. All right, the next one on this list might kind of irritate some Honda fanboys, and I apologize in advance, but yeah, it's the Honda Ridgeline is another truck that you should probably stay away from. And I'll go ahead and say this real quick. If you want something reliable that will last a long time, that's one positive aspect of the Honda Ridgeline. So, Honda fanboys, getting that out of the way real quick. And now on to the reasons why I think this is a truck you should stay away from. This is more like a Maverick experience. It's not quite a real truck. It's a unibody. It's really small. It's low to the ground, so you can't really go very far when it comes to off-roading. And so like the Ford Maverick, it just doesn't deliver on that truck experience that most people are looking for when they're thinking of a pickup truck. I feel like it's more of an SUV. I feel like it's more of an SUV with an open area for storage. And another thing about these Honda Ridgelines is that you can't tow very much with them. There's a little tow hitch right here with some little tiny hooks for your chains. And while you do have a tow package, I wouldn't really try to tow much more than a small U-Haul trailer, like the really small ones that are meant for like if you're moving a tiny half of your apartment. So you can't really tow but a couple thousand pounds with it. And I wouldn't try to do more than that because it'd be pretty dangerous, I think. Kind of like a Jeep. You don't want to tow really with a Jeep. It just is not built for that. And the third and final reason I would stay away from the Honda Ridgeline, and you're not the smartest person in the world if you buy this, is that when you look at the MSRP of these things, these are priced quite high for what you get. And like I said, it's not very powerful. It's pretty small for a truck. And again, look at the ground clearance. I mean, this my camera with the stand doesn't even fit all the way underneath it here. So you're not doing any kind of off-roading, maybe just a dirt road or a rock road. But this right here is the all-wheel drive Trail Sport, and it's $49,870 for the 2024 model. This dealership also has some add-ons which bring it over $50,000. So this is a Pro Pack, which I don't even know what that is. You have to ask them what that is. Low jack, which is not necessary, for $400. Window tint for $500, which would be half price if you went to a tent shop. Don't know what permaplate is. And for $300, I just not have a pinstripe. So that brings this Honda Ridgeline to $52,864. And at $52,000, you might as well just buy like a lower to mid-trim level XLT F-150 at that price point, or a V8 Ram pickup truck, because you get the full truck experience. It'll be four-wheel drive, it'll have more ground clearance, and you'll have a V8 engine with all the power that you need. So definitely stay away from the Honda Ridgeline. You're just a dumb goober if you buy it. On to the next one.
So next on our list is gonna be the Nissan Titan. So this has been a little bit of a controversial truck. Some people really like them, some people hate them. On this year model, what they're doing is it's kind of got an off-road look to it, but the problem with this is it's actually sitting lower to the ground. So though you have the off-road look, the off-road steps, and that back there that says Titan in the back on the bed, giving you that appearance of an off-road truck, you come up here to the front, and what you're looking at is normally off-road, you think ground clearance. Well, on the Titan here, you don't have ground clearance. It's sitting pretty low. And if you compare this one to this Titan here, which is actually the off-roady version, this is looking at the Pro 4X. This actually does have more ground clearance and gives you that off-road feel.
So that's just the first issue that people have a problem with on a Nissan Titan, is that it's not the best looking truck, and it honestly has never been the best looking truck, which is why a lot of people will swing to Ram or Ford when they compare it with the Nissan. But the other major issue is that it depreciates like a tank. I mean, this is one of the fastest depreciating pickup trucks on the market that you can buy. So the hard decision that people try to make is, compared to other trucks that do hold their value slightly better, you're just gonna lose more money when you go in a couple of years to trade in your Titan on something else. And so a lot of people, especially right now, we're already losing money anyways on everything we buy. You just want to try to lose the least amount possible, and with a Titan that just doesn't make sense. And at the same time, because sales of the Titan has been so low, this year model is pretty much the last year model of the Titan that we're going to get. These are just no longer going to be available. Once Nissan is done selling all of the ones that they're making this beginning of this year, the Titan is gone, and that means down the road it's going to be harder and harder to get parts as time goes on, and these are just going to die in the crusher at some point in their life. At 20 years down the road, we may never ever see another Titan on the road, who knows. And another problem with the Titan here is the price. You know, these are not so popular, but the price is still in line with all the other trucks that you can purchase. So if you get a Nissan Titan, it's 2024 5-liter V8 Pro 4X, it's $64,460. And the Pro 4X isn't that much better than getting like a mid-trim level full-wheel drive Ram or full-wheel drive Ford. Now, one of the differences, you know, and I will say that is better than getting like the twin turbo Ford if you're looking at trucks, is Nissan does have some discounts on these, so you'll get a discount, but all of these have the V8 engine. And I will say the V8 engine is not too bad. I would say it's more reliable than the twin turbo Ford engine. So the Titan just doesn't have much going for it anymore when you compare it to Ram, Ford, Chevy, etc. And Chevy's even closer in price comparisons. Like you can get a ZR2 Bison in the 60s or right around there, and even get a diesel engine. You got 3 different options of engines on those or more, and you're just limited on the Titan here. But I will say, if you decide to get a Titan, despite it being on this list, Pro 4X is probably what you want to try to jump in. On to the next.
So next on our list is actually going to be the Jeep Gladiator. I know for some hardcore Jeep fans this may come as a surprise. I myself am a very big fan of Jeep brand, so this being on the list, it's kind of a kicker. However, there are reasons why. So the first problem you're going to have with this is if you were to get one of these Rams, you could end up getting a diesel or a big V8 motor. versus getting the V6 on this, which is highly underpowered. The second thing that I personally just don't find attractive is going to be this Jeep actually looks like it skipped leg day. Now, once you lift them, they're not so bad, but you're gonna find as you go off-roading, this guy is actually really long. So what you're gonna lose on this is a lot of that turning radius that you're gonna have on the Wranglers. When you are off-roading, you lose that aspect of it. So the next thing that you're gonna notice on these Gladiators is gonna be the truck bed size. In here, you may get, a couple of bicycles, as opposed to if you were to come over here and we were to buy a full-size Ram, you could get at least a couple dirt bikes in the bed of this truck. So this bed on the Jeep is actually going to be pretty tiny for anything I would consider for a truck. So another thing on these is the price range that you're actually going to be paying to get one of these little trucks. So on this one, we're just going to be looking at just the Sport model, which is the lower range model. You're going to be looking at all of the equipment, but your base price is starting at $37,895. Total price with the add-ons, you're looking at $53,675. To get the off-road capability that is known with the Jeeps and the Wranglers and the Gladiators, you're going to want to get something like this, which is our Rubicon package. But if I'm going to go and do my Rubicon package, I'm going to be paying a minimum of $65,930. So that's a hefty price to pay for something that lacks the mobility of going off-road like the Wrangler does, and the little truck bed where you can't really fit much in it. Just on a personal standpoint, being a Jeep fanatic, I really can't stand what they've done on the new 2024 models, which is this little bitty grill right here. It just seems like they have shrunk them and they're making it a lot smaller every single year, which just drives me crazy.
All right, the next truck on this list is another overpriced electric vehicle, and that's gonna be the new Hummer EV. When these were first revealed, I didn't realize that they were gonna be EV. I was hoping that they would put like a really nice, powerful V8 engine in them, or a diesel engine, like maybe a turbo diesel or something. And when I found out it was gonna be all electric, a lot of people, including myself, was just a little bit disappointed. And so that's the first point. I think sales of these would be a lot better if they had either a V8 or a diesel engine in them. And one of the main reasons, well, there's two. One, the batteries make this thing heavy. It's one of the heaviest trucks and SUVs that you can buy. And two, because it is a heavy electric vehicle, this thing is really freaking expensive. This is a 2024, and if you want to buy this, it's going to run you $120,144. And if this was more like a traditional V8 or diesel engine, you could knock this down and sell it for probably $75,000, $80,000 as a Premier GMC, and probably double or even triple your sales. But at $120,000, it's just not worth it. And the list of why these are just not great as a truck just keeps going on and on.
One of the recalls on these is actually the high voltage battery pack, which may not be properly sealed, which is allowing water to get into that battery pack. So the battery pack on these only lasts about 3 to 5 years, and then you're gonna have to replace them. You do need to be checking them quite often as well to make sure that you maintain them. But if you do have to replace the battery on these, you're looking at around $30,000. And if you don't have a fast charger for one of these, it could take up to 24 hours to recharge from empty back to full.
And the final issue is just a bigger problem with having any kind of electric vehicle that's not a Tesla in general, is that it's really hard to find a reliable charging network, especially when you're in more remote places. And this just, takes forever to charge. It's obviously not a Tesla, so you're not hooked into their supercharger network that's all over the place. And as an example, another YouTuber, a YouTuber named James, he's known as the Stradman. He did a video about a year or so ago, and he was on a road trip with his girlfriend in one of these Hummer EVs, and they were trying to charge around Moab, Utah. And pretty much every charger that they tried was just not working. And if I remember right, they ended up having it towed for quite a distance before they found a charger that actually worked. So just like a lot of other electric cars, there's just a lot of problems that are kind of a pain in the butt to deal with on one of these Hummer EVs. Now, with that said, if it was coming up into like a battle between I had to buy an electric truck for some silly reason, I would buy this Hummer EV over the Tesla Cybertruck, and here's why. And actually, I would buy any of these trucks on this list. over the Cybertruck, let's be honest. When the Tesla Cybertruck was first revealed, it was one of the most overhyped pickup trucks that had ever come out. Elon Musk said the window wouldn't shatter, and then it did. Elon also said it would start around $45,000, and then it didn't. And now that a lot of customers are actually getting their hands on these trucks, the failed reality of this vehicle is really setting in. I got to drive a Cybertruck just a few days ago, and while it's fun to look at, and of course like a Tesla it's really fast, it's just a complete disaster. There are huge panel gaps everywhere you look, the accelerator pedal gets stuck and shoots you through traffic at maximum speed, and you can tow a lot of weight, but you can't really tow that weight very far. The Cybertruck hype is pretty much wearing down, there's just a lot of issues, and instead of being a $45,000 truck that just about anyone could afford, the only ones that have been delivered are well over $100,000. And at that price point, it doesn't make sense if you actually need a truck to do truck things. Congratulations, you made it to the end of this video, and since you made it here, please make sure you subscribe to see more videos. My sister and I, who's in this video as well, are going to start uploading a whole lot more. And then hit that like button if you enjoyed the video. That helps get this information about these trucks to as many people as possible. And hopefully you subscribed, and I'll see you in the next video.